Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild show. Tabletop Gaming Guild's all about the memories and experiences that playing board games with friends and families can create. On this episode, this special episode, we're doing an interview with Eternal Realms, and we have Mike Briegel here, and he's going to talk about the original game, and we're going to go into the new up-and-coming game for Kickstarter. So, it's been a while, and I know this is your second Kickstarter, right? So you did your Wizard and Relics, which was very popular and a really good game, and now this is your Wizards and Relics Awakening game. So what was your, just to start off, what was your journey, or what was it like for your first Kickstarter, from getting it up there and then just getting it out to the supporters, and how'd that process go for you?
It was a wild journey. Hey, James. Hey, everyone. It's an honor to be back. Yeah, it's been a couple of years, but I just remember it was just so fun hanging out with you guys the last time. So it's an honor to be back. And yeah, it's a journey, man. I didn't realize, like creating a thing and then like getting it to a stage we had to like launch on Kickstarter, and then even funding on Kickstarter, which was miraculous. I feel like I had to fight uphill to make that happen, because I'm just trying to figure everything out, and I'm doing a lot of it myself. I have a great like R&D team, like a group of homies who like help me to test the game and make the game actually good. But when it comes to the business and marketing, I'm doing all that stuff and I'm just figuring it out. So like we bootstrapped the first Kickstarter, and then like we funded, which is great. And then after the Kickstarter, I didn't realize how hard that was. It was like harder than the actual Kickstarter. Managing like we were so grateful to have 700 and some backers, but like managing all these people and pledges and figuring out like the pledge manager, I'd never used GameFound before. So even just figuring that out and shipping, and it was wild. And then I was freaking out because it was, we funded in November 2020, or I believe November. We launched on the 4th, which was election day, which you could say is probably one of the weirdest one of the craziest elections in recent history. But like, what a stupid day to launch, but it was fine. but yeah, so I'm freaking out about freight, because like freight shipping from China is just in the weirdest state ever that we know of. But luckily, it's just like 4 months of absolute stress. We shipped, I sent to print, and we got that guy manufactured, and we were able to deliver on time, which was kind of a miracle. It was at like the end cap of on time, but it's a blessing. People got the game, and thank God they actually liked it, and we got good feedback, and people played it, and they were able to play it with their kids or with their spouse or with their gaming group. And so it's been quite the adventure, all the things, highs and lows, but super grateful to put out a work, and for people to actually, it still blows my mind that people like play my game and like it, and people that I don't know. Doesn't even compute. And that people can read the rule book and understand how to play, like you guys.
So did you have a story where you like walked into a place and people were playing it?
Oh man, no, not quite playing it. Oh god, that would be good. I guess I haven't quite got that. Like, I've gotten I saw your game on Kickstarter, and then I saw it at a store the next day, and I was like, what store? Because I feel like my retail game is not that great. Like, I'm not super dedicated to getting into retail quite yet, but it is in some places. But like, I was in Vegas and I was at the Game and Goat, and I saw your game. I was like, what the heck? And so there was a local brewery I was at a week or two ago. Maybe it was like a month ago, but I was talking to this guy who's a veterinarian, and he has like a gaming group, and I don't know this person at all. He's like a friend of an acquaintance of a friend, kind of a deal. And I was like, yeah, and somehow it came up in conversation. They're like, oh yeah, I created a card game or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, we play games. I play games. And then he checked it out, and he's like, wait, Wizards and Relics? He's like, I've heard of that game. My friend, told me about it or whatever. Like, those kind of conversations just blow my mind. So there's been some of that where just like encountering people that have heard of you or heard of your game is crazy.
That is awesome. And yeah, I really. So you did all the art for the both games?
For the most part, I did finally try to get some help the second time around with the new set. I got my sister to do some of the cards, and luckily she's she has a designer's eye, and she's also an artist, and I was able to train her in on like my art style for this and using Adobe Illustrator with just like vector art, and she did a great job on some of the cards, and that was a big relief for me. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I still do most of the illustration and the design, but yeah.
I really liked on the art in the game. I thought it was really cool. That's a huge amount of art though for every single one of those cards. What is it, like 160 some or some big number in the base game?
Yeah, I mean, well, so both sets have the same amount of cards. It's like 120 like main like wizards and relics, and then there's like 24 shrines. Yeah, and there's a lot of art. Some of them are duplicates, so that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked it, and I like the art for the Wizards and Relics prototype we got. I know you're doing more for it too, but yeah, I like the art for the game a lot. That is a lot of work to put in to design the game, develop the game, do all the art for the game, or even like most of the art, then run it on Kickstarter, then have to deliver it and deal with the logistics of like printing and shipping. And my hats are off to you. I don't even wear a hat, but
thanks, James. I need to like get a team like you guys have. I need to get more people on board. I have a good team, like I said, for like the development of the game, which I think is like the most important. It's so important to make sure it's tested, play tested, that we get that it's balanced and all that stuff is so important. And that's the funnest part of the job. But for everything else, the art included, learning how to delegate, learning how to find people. That's but on the other hand too, it is fun. I'm naturally just like an artist. That's like the main thing I came into this world with was with the skill to draw, and that was it, nothing else. And so it's like, well, it's fun to actually put that into some type of practical application. But there probably will be a time where I may have to delegate a lot more of that, because I do enjoy the marketing aspect and like the whole bigger picture a lot. So if I had to get away from that at some point, I maybe I would. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't have. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, like, kind of getting into that. I mean, are you thinking to go into like any kind of conventions out there, like PAX or Origins? I know at least some games have had pretty good success going out to some of those conventions like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love conventions. I did a fair amount of like attainable ones, like early on, before the first Kickstarter launch. Mostly like lower key, like just kind of conventions in Minnesota. There was like 2D Con, there's Galaxy Con, there was the Protospiel, there was a few others. But I mean, I love it, but I also hate the logistics of conventions. And I know it's such a good route to go in, but I've just been in a lifestyle of like not wanting to go to conventions. So I will for sure, because I love the energy of just connecting with people, and that's the best, man. It's just they're so fun, and I know they're effective. But I like have gotten into this groove of I have a daughter, and I just like, me and my wife are just working on different things in our life, and I don't want to make the time to go on like a convention circuit at the moment. It just but I know there'll be a time where I'll be like, yes, I need to do that, because that does move the needle forward big time. But yeah, that's a great question. I'm probably missing out on that opportunity. Like, we launched this second campaign like right after Gen Con. Ideally I would have been at Gen Con to hype it up, and then we launched. That would have been prime. But yeah, that's not in the cards for this year, for me at least.
Yeah, I like the conventions in theory, and then I can only do so many, and then I'm conventioned out.
Yeah, there are a lot to think about, for sure.
Yeah, you almost need a team to really do that, because it's 2, 3, 4 days of hammering it over and over again. And then if you're gonna do 4 or
Yep.
5 of them, yeah, you're gonna
Yeah, it takes some
die.
thinking. Thank God, like, I think one of the ones we did, my wife was able to just like run around, figure out food for everyone, and just like figure out all sorts of that logistics, which was amazing. But there was one I went to myself, and it was super small. Still, it wasn't like a giant convention, but it was like I was just me, and I was just there for like the entire day straight, just like didn't eat, didn't do anything, just like on, just like hardcore. And I was like, oh man, this is fun, but like this is not sustainable. This is crazy. But yeah. I actually had a question for you guys. Sorry to interrupt there. You were asking about the art. So in like, I'm like I love Magic the Gathering. I love fantasy, obviously. In my games, I'm all in on Wizards, all in on fantasy. And I do get a lot of compliments in the art because it's like simple, it's clean, it's different. And like, I love like Magic the Gathering art. I love detailed illustrations, digital paintings. I love the nitty gritty of that and the detail and the landscapes. But it's like that takes real skill. That takes like hiring artists. I mean, I can kind of do some of that stuff, but it still takes a long time. But like, so my art was a way that's like, it's simpler, it's quicker, it's easier, and it also is striking. Do you guys have any, like, is there art styles that you find that you really like? Do you like things that are bold? Do you still like the classical detailed fantasy like Magic the Gathering stuff? Is there things that like stand out, or does some of that stuff feel boring to you guys? Like sometimes I'll play, you'll play Dominion. It's like, oh man, like this old like German lady Helga did the art. It's like terrible, but it's like it's still such a good game. It doesn't even matter. Some of the cards are good. Some of them are kind of like, really? But yeah, just curious, like how much art plays into your guys's like view of a game or what makes it stand out.
So I like art, and I'm in games a lot. I'm actually turning into more of like looking for the aesthetics of the game, along with the gameplay. But I will tell you, if something has beautiful art and has horrible gameplay, I actually like the game less than if it had mediocre art, because I'm just like, you spent all this time on this art, and this game is awful.
Like, you can't figure out the gameplay.
So I really appreciate, and you can tell. Like even the box for Wizards and Relics and stuff was really nice. You could tell when someone puts a lot of care into a game. So it's not just the art, it's the overall presentation of the game. So having nice art's great. Having great components and great presentation it goes a long way. Mainly even before you start the game, you're like, wow, they put a lot of thought and a lot of care into this game, instead of like, I'm just selling a game to just make money. I care about it. Like that is a big thing to me. And you can tell that with your games. You can tell that with Stonemaier games. Every game they put out is like lovingly made. And so totally. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm like, I'm the whole thing. So
Well,
that also makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, especially if like you worry about like iconography and like trying to get that so it's makes sense, and it's clean, and you also even try and take into account like there's all kinds of things that come into it. Like, but I appreciate whenever I see somebody somebody might be colorblind, so having unique shapes for along with the color as well, so that way you're not really excluding anybody out. And
for sure.
If you don't do that, then it's great, because I can make excuses for loot when I lose. I'll be like, I couldn't tell the difference.
Do you have some of that, James? Yeah, your color blindness, or see
no,
color
No, he just needs excuses for when he
I
loses.
just need excuses when I lose games. Like,
does James lose a lot, you guys?
Yeah, sometimes by 1 point, repeatedly.
That's the worst.
For art, for me, so one of my favorite studios, I followed it because of the art. Like the art's really what caught my eye at first when I really like Final Frontier games, and the artist, the Miko. I really like his art style, and that really drew me into a lot of their stuff. And their games play really, really well. And I'm to the point now that if I see that he's the artist I will gladly. I won't even have to look at the game. I will play it hands down.
Oh,
It
wow.
just draws me in.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's cool. I'm checking it out right now. So Final Frontier Games, pretty much just everything they make.
I think he's done everything, or just about everything that they've done.
He's done some for Gamelin Games too, or not Gamelin Games. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the ones that did Architects of the West Kingdom, Raiders of the North Sea. Oh no, it's Garfield Games, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
Garfield
cool.
Games, he did a bunch for them too. I also like Adrian Smith a lot. He did the sculpts for Blood Rage. He did them for Ankh. Not quite art in that manner, but he did the sculpting.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't underrate, aesthetics, because I mean, especially if I'm walking around, convention hall, like if it doesn't at least entice me at all with the presentation, then I wind up not even usually sitting at the table to even give it a try sometimes.
Yeah, we do judge books by their cover, and yeah, that's important to draw people in for sure. And yeah, thanks for the comments. It's definitely something I'm a little obsessive about. And I kind of wish I could spend more time on it, because I love just like getting that feel. I want that high quality magical feel, that wizardly feel, like you're walking into this like wizardly tavern. I want this like higher and higher scale. It's like clean and simple, but at the same time that has this like, I don't know, mysterious depth. Like I want you to feel like you're walking into this nicely polished wizard tower or something. And yeah, that is definitely important to me. And we definitely poll our audience and try to get thoughts on, yeah, even when I was designing the logo, I had like a bunch of different options for it, and just getting like feedback from people is super fun. And also sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I take a decent amount of care on that, and I would like to spend more time on it, honestly. But at the end of the day, you got to just go with something and call it done, like you were talking about earlier, Evan. And sometimes you just got to get it out there. So
Well, I think your art and your art style were pretty consistent through the whole game, which is a big deal. So just that in itself, I mean, I think did a great job, and it looks beautiful, and I think you took a right amount of time on it, because I mean, that consistency and all the stuff is really important. So
Well, I think
thanks.
for me, one of the very important elements of art and games is it has to mesh with the graphic design. They can't be at odds. And I think you really nailed that. It's like where the text on the cards seems like it belongs there, whereas some games where they go really detailed in the art and, the text is just the afterthought and sometimes not even legible. I hate
so
that.
small that it's just like, why did you do the text so small? There's like this giant card and you have text that's like font 8. Why?
Yeah, no, Nathan, thank you so much for bringing that up. I definitely I look at some old card games like what is it? Is it Yu-Gi-Oh? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Is it Yu-Gi-Oh that has like the trading card game that has
Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, it has that wall of text on the cards.
They have a wall of text, and they have an interesting consistency where it's like I always use the same font size, but it's like so small.
Size 2.
Yeah, it's like this is interesting, cool art, but thanks for saying that, Nathan. I definitely appreciate hearing that and getting that validation, because I do take care to design everything so it matches and then it's as readable as possible in an elegant way. Sometimes I try to design it too much where it's like, it's not readable, it's not practical, but that's definitely something that I critique other games for, and like, maybe we could do it a little bit better than some games at least.
I think it's like, what is it, Blue Eyes White Dragon? Now you have to have that in your game. It's the iconic Yu-Gi-Oh thing.
Oh, I need to look that up. I don't know what that is.
I'm pretty sure it's Blue Eyes White Dragon or something.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then,
in my daughters used to watch like Yu-Gi-Oh the cartoon all the time.
Oh yeah,
the Blue
that's
Eyes White
iconic,
Dragon.
Yeah, man.
Have to do like the Slate knockoff.
No,
like
it's a Blue Eyes White
Teal Dragon, Pearl-eyed.
Oh my God!
It has 1 billion health. Oh no!
Yeah. I like the number inflation on that. There's the add extra zeros and commas to everything. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I always laughed at that. Every set they'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna times by 10."
Yeah. So good. I mean, you know, it kind of works. Kids like big crazy numbers. Oh, that's funny.
So, a question I was going to ask you. So, I liked Wizards and Relics a lot. I thought that was a really cool game where you get to do all these like combos, and you can do all this. You have to do a lot of thinking and your strategy for when you flip your cards, and like whether you're going to use the common wizard or you're going to go with your superb wizard later on, or which relics you're going to use or whatnot, and how you're going to combo those two together. That was cool. I think Wizards and Relics Awakening takes it farther. There's a lot of delving through your deck. There's a lot of it. Really made me feel like a really fast like CCGG game, where you're just going. Like you guys are attacking each other really quick. You're just doing all this deck manipulation to try to, one up the other person, which I really like. What was your inspiration for that? Like that, because that looked like it took a lot of work to come up with and design and do.
Oh yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. It's just so fun. It's in our wheelhouse. We just want to go further. We want to go to the next level. We love drafting and deck building in various games, and they're just like adding more combos. Well, one, we got feedback of like some people the game is too complicated, and some it's too simple. So it's like, okay, well, where's our audience? But we just naturally go there. We want to have more combos. We want to take it to the next level. We want to have fun. But then the tricky thing was holding ourselves back to like, okay, but our audience, it's still supposed to be a game that plays. It's accessible. It's more accessible than other games, other like strategy card games, to like average people. But at the same time, it can like fulfill our like need and desire to like, to go pull off crazy combos. So it started with our friend Adam, who is in it. He's in Egypt now. He's not really a part of it hands-on, but he was in the beginning, and he's the guy that like he wins everything. He wins every game you play, and he's just like he's one of those guys. Oh yeah, like with James, and he crushes it. Like he's been to a decent amount of Magic tournaments, and he's a really good player at whatever he plays. But he originally had this like Voltron idea of just like this, where subtypes would actually matter, where you're trying to like you're trying to get this combo of cards, and you're trying to like find the right things, and then you're able to play them all. And he had this full spreadsheet, and he had a lot of good ideas, and we just basically went off of that. And then we had to fine tune it a lot, but honestly, some of this stuff was cut from the original prototype and is like included in this set. We took like the whole ability 4C, which is like scry and magic. You can basically just like fix your deck. You look at the top amount of cards, and you can put them on top or bottom. That ability we had to just scrap from the base set just to simplify things. And so we were finally able to introduce it in here and bring in cards that were originally in the game from the beginning. And I think that's most every designer's problem, is you kind of have way too many ideas, and then to make something shelf ready, like a final game, you got to go simpler and go simpler and go simpler until it's like as optimized as possible. So this set was just so fun, because it allowed us to take some of the things we had to cut, take some tons of ideas that we had shelved for a couple of years, and like finally implement it into this well-oiled machine. The one thing that I think about is like, okay, it allows you to do a lot more. It allows the like average power level ends up being higher. And I'm really concerned about like power inflation. I never want to do the Pokemon thing where it's like, oh, well, just every set cards are just better. Everything is still balanced with the base set, and we do our best to keep a balance. Every card is like has the same scale as the base set, every single card. But in this set, it's just the abilities allow you to get out more things, and so just naturally the power level is just going to be different than it was in the base set, which is fun. But also I'm just kind of like, oh, I hope we're not like getting to that line, but yeah, it's a fun set to develop and test, and there's a lot of intricacies in it, and we've been through many iterations of it, and I think it's landed in a pretty good spot, pretty fun spot. But yeah.
Yeah, I can see that in the game, and mainly because you can go through your deck better, find those combos and stuff. But you also have the flip side, like if you use 2 superb cards and win, you lost your wizard.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to balance that out a little bit. You know, maybe you don't want to win your first one with superb wizard. You want to win the last one with him. Keep him around.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the deck diving part of that a lot. Was there a mechanic that you had wished made it in the game, but maybe something in the future that just didn't work out that you were really liking? So there's some sort of idea or mechanic where you're like, oh, that would be cool, but we're not right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a handful of those. Two that I can think of off the hand is one of them was like a card that I just made with my nephew. I just like made, you know what? I'm just gonna make a weird fringe Wizards and Relics set and send it to my nephew just to goof around with. And they're things that are just weird. I just like that I wouldn't think about when I'm actually developing. But it turns out that little set is like really fun. So like one idea in that was just a wizard. It's kind of, if you think of kind of any game that you can just play at any time from your hand. No, right now there really isn't anything like that in Wizards and Relics. Everything has to kind of just trigger from a wizard or relic or shrine ability. But like, well, what if there was a wizard you could just play from hand at any time, and that can trigger a shrine ability, and that can add like an extra power or two, just cool. Like in a moment's notice, and you're kind of just like trying to read your opponents, like, I'm down by 1, like James is usually. Then James can whip out this card, and then boom, he's tied, or he can pull out the win. And those cards, it's so simple, and it's an idea that, you know, it exists in a lot of strategy games. So I'm excited to bust that one out. Hopefully in the next set, I think that'll just be a simple way to add that little, like, that sorcery, that kind of instant speed element to get extra power. But you'll lose out a card, and then maybe someone else will have another one, and you'll have to kind of like, you know, maybe there's a couple of those cards, so you could kind of combo those, but you'll probably only have that only opportunity in the game, or unless you get those cards back. So that's one I want to implement for sure. In our next set, we're thinking of like throwing it up with like a dark wizard with like a different.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like a purple, like a necromancer, warlock type of feel, and we haven't quite nailed down like they're kind of the anti-advantage. No one can get advantage from them. They can't gain advantage. They don't trigger a lot of shrines necessarily, but they're naturally more powerful. We're trying to figure out something that makes them really unique, but balanced. Yeah, but we have tons of ideas. Another one is cards that just stay out on the battlefield longer, cool. Like duration type card. I think there's a lot we could play with in that arena. So, yeah, things.
You did have at least, I think there was at least 1 or 2 cards that were every color in the Awakening Realms one, so they were sort of like the gold.
Yep. There was one. Yep, the Archivist. Yep.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one because it's like, oh yeah, it's good and bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. We've been excited about the Ethereal Wizards. He's been around for a long time too, and so he was supposed to be in the base set, but he ended up getting cut. Just too many things. So yeah, it's excited to finally get him out there. He's like the Gandalf of our set. He's the guy who's trying to figure out what's going on, help guide our heroes in figuring out some of the mysteries going on in the world of Relzaria. So yeah.
And just because, go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say, so I was super excited. I got the copy, that you sent for us to try out from James, and I was super excited to try it out. And then before I could get it to the table, James was like, "Oh, we need it back real quick because it's got to go somewhere else." I'm like, So I haven't got a chance to play it yet, but I think it's a good spot, really here. I don't know if we want to move this around and into this interview. If you can just give us a quick rundown, because people might not have seen the previous interview. You know, what is your game to kind of, you know.
All right, so Evan, you asked me, you asked me just to talk a little bit about Wizards and Relics Awakening, or even just Wizards and Relics in general.
Yeah. If you just want to start with a base and then kind of, I think you touched a little bit on what you're getting with the expansion, but I mean, really can't understand the expansion until we know what the base is going to give you. So let's start there and see what we got.
Yeah, Wizards and Relics. It's a fast-paced dueling card game. You know, I'm a Magic the Gathering player. I love drafting games like Dominion, but I needed a card game that I could play with like my nephew, with my wife, with I could bring home for Christmas, that I could get that strategic flavor, but a game that's simple and quick enough that you could just teach to almost anyone. Even my 6-year-old daughter knows the gist of the game. So yeah, Wizards and Relics for me was my answer for like a strategic card game like Magic the Gathering, but in a casual, simple way. So it has decks of 30 cards. You have Wizards and Relics. You know, you got this wizard guy. I love wizards. I love Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and fantasy of all kinds, but I especially love magic and wizards. There's just something about them. So, you know, you have decks with these characters, with wizards. They have abilities. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just have a raw power. But if you think back, if you've played the old game War, like the classical card game War, I draw a lot of inspiration from that game because I loved it as a kid. You have this deck of cards and you flip them over and you try to get the highest power over your opponent, and then you get to take the cards if you won. I love that idea, but it's like you realize the game is terrible. It just doesn't. There's no strategy. You can't choose anything. So I wanted to build like a game that was like War, where you had a deck of cards and you want the highest power and you lay them face down. Your opponent doesn't know what you're gonna lay, but you actually get to choose the cards. And so it kind of takes the fun of like 2-card combos in strategy games and just applies it and elevates War into this fantastical kind of fantasy-based dueling card game that it actually plays pretty good as a dueling, like one-on-one, head-to-head, like really strategic, but it's fun, and it can be I wouldn't say party game, but it can be a game that you hang out and you drink, you just hang out. Oh, okay, all right, flip your wizard, and pretty straightforward game that has like drafting and deck building variants and options to it, which I'm just obsessed with. I love deck building more than anything. I love drafting and I love crafting strategies. So this game is super fun draft, but you can get it to the table pretty quick too in the regular setting. So yeah, that's Wizards and Relics, and Awakening is a brand new set. It's a standalone expansion to Wizards and Relics. New cards, fully new cards. Like there's literally the same amount as the base set, but they're brand new abilities. And you can combine it with the base set. You can play it by itself. It's kind of more the same, but it goes a little deeper. And yeah, like James said, it has like more interactions, more shenanigans. And for some people, maybe that's a little too complicated. For others, it's like, yes, this is what we want. So yeah, that's a little bit about Awakening and Wizards and Relics.
Yeah, one really cool thing, just to interject with it, that I really liked about the game, and I thought was one of the genius things about it, is you have this box, right? Then it's going to make 4 decks of cards, and they're all balanced and random. And I really like that system where you had the rarity system set up and you had the balance by rarity. And then so you'll take your wizards of each of the 3 wizards and relics of each of the 3 rarities and separate them all out. Then you'll shuffle all those decks separately, and then you'll pull, I think it's 6 from each for the 2 and the 2 normal rarities, and then 4 from the superb rarities, if I remember right. And then you shuffle that up, and that's a deck, and you can make 4 decks out of this, and you can do that every time, and you can have a really cool random deck of cards that is actually balanced with your opponent. So I thought that was a really cool way and really neat how that actually works. So I've had games that have tried that, and you always get that one card, and you're like, I win. Like, so I like that how it was still balanced, even though you're basically randomly making 4 decks with just those simple rules to it.
Yeah, I remember before we had the rarity system, I thought the game still worked pretty well, but I just remember a few of our friends getting screwed over so many times. Shout out to you, Brady, and Kevin, my friend Kevin. I think he like he really sparked the idea to get the rarity system in, because he was really frustrated because he was going to min-max the thing. He was going to like dominate every game. He's good at games, but he like couldn't get over the fact that his deck just so happened just to kind of be terrible. and yeah, and they were like, you know what if we had a rarity system? And a part of me is like, it slows down the beginning, the setup a little, it slows it down. But yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because at the end of the day, it is worth it because it makes for the most balanced and fair random, random decks and gameplay for the game night as possible. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on how to make it more streamlined and optimized, we will take them. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I think that balance is very important.
I wouldn't even have thought of that. So I thought that was really, really cool. So I don't know if I can help you out any further than that. But I did really appreciate that, because I've had played those games and I've gotten very frustrated where I'm like, I guess you randomly got the better cards. But you solved that. So I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, totally.
And you say it slows it down, but it's like, I've played this game a couple times. James taught it to me and a bunch of other people that hadn't played it before. And even with that, like, learning the game and having to do the setup, it still only took 30 minutes. It's a pretty fast game. And easy to learn.
Yeah, it probably only took me like 5 or 6 minutes to actually set up the decks, because I was like, do, shuffle, done. Like, here you go.
That's music to my ears. That's good. Good to hear, guys.
Yeah, once you got it down, you got it down. And the symbols are unique enough that it's easy to separate them out once you know what you're looking for.
Yeah. I think my frame of reference is being alone at a convention, like we talked about, and having to set up the game, nervously talking to someone and trying to set it up as quick as possible while engaging conversation, and then like get the game out to play. That's a stressful like 5 minutes. But yeah.
Your elevator speech has to be like on point at that point. Like, don't mind me while I set this up, but I'm going to sell you completely on this game while I do it.
Yeah,
you just have
exactly.
You just have to pay someone on the side to just knock a thing of water over, so everyone looks at them real quick, and you're like, I'm almost done.
Yeah. Wouldn't I just pay that person to set the game up for me?
Oh well, that's why you're the designer.
Yeah. The water, that's more fun. Just
yeah.
Pay me an exorbitant amount of money to make distractions for me.
What do you do for a living? I knock over glasses of water.
Yeah, I help support the Eternal Realms team by causing shenanigans.
I will gladly go on your tour just to do that.
Oh my gosh, you're hired, Evan. I love it.
So I was thinking about it. If somebody wanted to go and get the base copy of the game, is there a place they can go and get that right now?
Absolutely. You can go to wizardsandrelics.com and get yourself a copy. Or you can go to eternalrealms.co, and that'll kind of get you to a similar place. So you can absolutely buy the base set right now. Give it a shot.
We'll have both links in the show notes, and also the link to the Kickstarter. As of this time, the Kickstarter has 17 days left. I'm going to try to get this up pretty quick, so hopefully we'll be in the middle of that or in the next couple days. We'll see how fast I can edit this, but I'll definitely have it up before the end of the Kickstarter, so I'll have a link on there. Definitely go check it out. There's some cool videos, and a really, really cool guy did a quote on there, so maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also saw that one of your the different like tiers, you had like a book for lore, and I'm kind of a huge nerd for lore stuff. So I mean that's right up my alley right there. Like, so
yes.
what was kind of like the whole process, that you thought of having that as the add-on and getting all that together? What was that like?
From the beginning, I love world building, and we're kind of world builders, and a couple of my buddies who work on this game are writers, and so my friend Joe is kind of spearheading that book. And really, even though it's like a simple card game, we have dreams of creating our own like fantasy universe, our own Tolkien universe, and we don't play D&D really actively, so like we don't have like this easy sort of setting to like build our world into, but we're taking it kind of like, I don't know, we're all in on it of building this world, an ensemble cast of characters, and so we're starting kind of to really talk about that through getting just kind of a short book, a little novel of short stories. And we're super stoked about it. And they kind of, most of them, they're short stories about the individual wizards. But, the first campaign we did, we included a map. And we spent too much money in manufacturing on this map because
that was a cool map, though.
Oh, thanks.
So yeah. I like that map a lot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we got the best paper they had, the like tearless paper, and
nice.
it's it's cool. It's good. From a business standpoint, that map is worth as much as the rest of that box. Like the rest of the cards, it's half the price of that game is the map. But like we love lore and fantasy novels so much, and we're just obsessed with building characters and telling stories that like we just had to do something. And so we planted the seeds in the base set with that, included a little bit of like writing, a little lore and updates, a little bit sprinkled in, but now we wanted to take that next step. And I have a vision of maybe we're publishing more books than games. Maybe we're exploring other forms of media to kind of tell these stories, and just because we love it, just because you guys love doing this work, and you're obviously passionate about it. You're putting out tons of content, you're playing games, you're having fun, and we're kind of doing the same thing. And we love that world building aspect. So yes, we want to publish some novels. We want to, try out a bunch of different things. And for right now, we're trying to dial in the games because we love games, but we're also going to ease into the writing and the storytelling too.
So with that, that's really cool having the lore, because that's really nice. And I like that a lot. Are you going to branch out to other forms in this universe? Like you have the card game, the dueling card game. Are you going to do like a different game potentially in the future, or like different mechanics?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Once you get that kind of game design itch, you
yeah,
can't stop. And so, I had to stop myself because I started working on all these other games. Don't. I mean, I have some games we're super stoked about. One that I think is really good. It's called, right now, the tentative name for it is Rude Druid, but it's based off of like a micro community of druids in this one particular forest in the world of Wizards and Relics. And so I played, have you guys played, what are they called? Auto chess type games? Like, I think pretty much everyone has a version of that. I think I played the auto chess on a League of Legends auto chess, I think. And I played a couple different auto chess games, and I'm like, dude, this concept is fun. This is fascinating. And I'm like, how could you make a card game auto chess? And that's what Rude Druid, the inspiration is. And it's not auto chess at all. But the idea came from playing auto chess. And so I have this game that's very similar. It's like a lane combat-ish one-on-one game where you draft. I love drafting, so I brought drafting fully into it. So you draft these cards. You're this druid, and you're summoning like wolves and elk and bear to fight for you. And so you sort of draft and summon each round different cards, and then you can trade those cards in to upgrade to like better ones. And then, but you're trying to figure out which lane you play your cards in, what your opponent's gonna play. Are they upgrading? Are they losing power because they can't get certain combinations? And there's colors. And I love the game. I think it's great, and it's in this universe. I don't know when we're going to release that, but I also have like a Dungeons and Dragons casual RPG type of card game because I love that like sense of building a character.
That would be cool.
So I have that kind of a thing. I played EverQuest back in the day, and I just like, I want to relive building a character in EverQuest or World of Warcraft, but with a card game I can play in like an hour. And so, I have tons of game ideas. We have a Royal Zarian drafting game that actually is pretty good. Right now, it has like no artwork, but I think it'll be Wizards and Relics themed. So we have tons of games we want to make, but it's just a matter of like, what do we prioritize? What are people interested in?
I'm super excited to see those. That's gonna be really cool. You could always do the Eric M. Lang thing. First mention. Um, where he says loosely inspired. You could do like loosely inspired by auto chess.
Ooh, loosely. Oh yeah, okay.
Because I think what was Ankh was loosely inspired by Risk. No, it was diplomacy. Where Ankh was loosely inspired by diplomacy, and then he did like the other ones were loosely inspired by other things. I can't remember because I don't even think there's any. Like it's very loosely. Like I would not be playing Ankh and be like, oh, that was Rising Sun. Sorry, Rising Sun was loosely inspired by diplomacy because of the Tea Party thing. I was like, nah, that's not diplomacy. There's not enough backstabbing. People don't hate each other by the end of the game.
Yeah, you're not ending friendships, right?
You're not ending friendships. You might have some tea splashed at you because you betrayed them in the middle of the game, but yeah.
That's good. So yeah, that sounds like a good marketing technique, or at least a great way to communicate. Like, yeah, loosely inspired by has a flavor of this type of thing that someone can ground themselves in.
Gives them a general idea where it's coming from, so they have an idea what they're expecting. So it's cool. I like it.
I'm just glad you're not going down the route of like Valeria, where all your games are going to have almost exactly the same name, and then nobody's going to know which game is which.
Oh,
so it sounds like you've thought about your names.
Yeah, I just reviewed a game. It was Villages of Valeria.
Oh, so is theirs just literally everything of Valeria?
Valeria.
I've heard of it.
I get so confused. Like I thought I was getting the big box game of Valeria, which I still can't remember what it's called. And I got the little card game, Villages of Valeria, and I'm like,
so you would recommend even if it's in the same theme or like world, brand new name, like new name, not Wizards and Relics, drafting Wizards and Relics, whatever, just do a whole new name.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You don't want to really run into that Terraforming Mars issue where it's like Terraforming Mars Ares. It's an expansion for Terraforming Mars.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And then they did the same thing with the expansions for Terraforming Mars Ares. They just called it Terraforming Mars Ares something. It's just longer now.
Oh man. Well, on that topic of like, what about? I often struggle with how do I communicate what our game is, because I'm just so used to Dominion, and I'm so used to if I buy a Dominion expansion, I can play that game by itself, but I can mix it in with every other game too. So that's where my brain is at. And so I used to call it strictly just like an expansion, kind of like on the front of the prototype it said expansion. I got rid of that. But now I'm saying like, okay, make sure you say standalone expansion. And I'm like, okay, should I say set? Do I say expansion? What do I say? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
That's a really hard one. Wizards and Relics is standalone. Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not gonna have the issue where they're gonna be like, oh, I have Wizards and Relics. I have to have Wizards and Relics to have Wizards and Relics Awakening. And it's not really an expansion. It's like it's a new base game, I would say, right?
Yeah, like a new set.
But then when you do an expansion, like if you do like a mini expansion, how do you show that you need to have a base game for?
Yeah. That's what we say is mini expansion, because we do have one in the current Kickstarter campaign. A mini expansion with
that's probably good. Use the word expansion in there.
I think if you use set and expansion and you're just very clear which is which, I think, and as long as you stay into those lanes, as long as you're producing that, I think it'll solve that Terraforming Mars issue.
So like I like how Raiders of the North Sea, Paladins of the North. Is it Paladins of the North? It's Raiders of the North Sea, and it's a trilogy, and they're all in the same universe, but it's the North Sea universe. But they're all individually named games. Paladins of the West Kingdom. Is that better? Oh man, I keep forgetting the name of the Paladins.
All of Heroes, Raiders
of the North Sea.
Isn't it Viscounts of like the West Kingdom?
Well, the Viscounts is a different one. So There's like at least 3. Nathan should know them all off the top of his head.
Come on.
How was that bus? How was that bus there? Nathan?
Yeah, how's that
Rolling
bus?
over
I'm
you?
just gonna hit you with that bus.
Yeah.
Nathan, they're behind you. They're behind you.
I don't have all the West Kingdom games. I have
Yeah,
Architects. I don't even and Paladin.
Architects of the West Kingdom, Raiders of the North Kingdom, or the North Sea, sorry, and then Paladins of something.
Paladins is West Kingdom, I think.
Paladins of the West Kingdom. Okay, yes, but basically they're all in the same universe. So, but you can tell their own set, and then they do the expansions from that, and they're all different games, sort of.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
They're
They have a
all
clear
samey,
graphic here too, like expansion, base game required.
Yeah.
Raiders of the North Sea or whatever.
It's a really fun game if you've never played it.
Okay.
And
I'll
the
check
artist
it
is
out.
really great.
Yeah, it looks sweet. Looks sweet. I get
Yeah,
behind playing games when I'm too much
when
in
you're designing.
launch mode and designing. It's we still try to make the time to play. We have a few Kickstarter games that came in, but I need to get better at that because I just. Yeah.
Is there a specific
Really-
game outside of yours that you really, really love playing? Like, what's your favorite game? Other than Wizards and Relics, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like historically, just Dominion, just straight up. We
Yeah.
play Dominion a lot. We just love drafting. Lately, like finally got introduced to, like Ascension and Hero Realms and Star Realms, and very similar, just like drafting or deck building and whatever. And yeah, so those games I can't get away from. I just love them. Some recent games we've played. This is such a tricky question. Man, we've made our Everdell. I really enjoyed, but we don't play
Everdell's
that
a really cool
a
game.
whole lot. We recently got into. Hold on, I have to step away for a second. Yeah. War Chest. Have you guys played War Chest?
Nathan has. I have not yet.
Oh, okay,
It's a
we
game
just
I
did
really
like a
like.
sprint playing War Chest.
Oh,
a
that's
bunch.
cool.
That was fun.
That's a great abstract strategy game.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that's like easy to learn. It's takes I think 30 minutes to play, and each time you play it, it's going to be a little different because you get to kind of randomly choose which characters are going to be in the game. So it's cool.
Yeah, but then you get friends that get too deep in the strategy of the different characters, and like they know the meta game. Like, oh, if you pick this guy, then you have to counter pick this guy for sure. Or if you pick this guy, he's gonna dominate. Yeah, like there's like some of my buddies got too good at it. I was like, oh dang it, I gotta catch up. But yeah, it's a fun game.
I'm actually going to change my recommendation to you.
Hmm.
So now that I know that you like Dominion, which I love Dominion, we pretty much have everything except for some of the new second edition stuff that came out, which I really like the fact that they didn't change the back of the cards and they're compatible. So I really like that. But since you like Dominion, which is the granddaddy of deck builders, and then you had Ascension, which made a market row, and one of the next game up that went a little further was Clank, which gave you a board to play on.
Yeah, I actually played that for the first time within the last month or two. It's been on my list for a while. Yeah, that was
But my recommendation is Dune Imperium.
Dune Imperium.
I think you will love Dune Imperium. It has a market row. It's a deck building style game, and it corresponds with a board. It sort of has like a Lords of Waterdeep / Clank feel to it.
Interesting.
So
and it's
and-
Dune.
And
Yeah, it's
two
Dune.
out of the 4 of us, had it in our top 5 games
Nathan.
of last year.
Nathan is no
Really?
longer part of the Tabletop Gaming Guild.
It was my 15.
That's
Top
too
15.
high.
I've
Too-
played hundreds
no,
of games.
No, so bad. No.
Played like 500 games, and it's
You'll
number
never hear the
15.
end of it. Never hear the end of it.
That's good. I love it.
When we did our top 10 episode, the 5 of us that were on, 4 of us had it either on 3 or 2.
Yeah, I think all of them had on the same number except for me.
It's
I was-
that good. So
It is amazing.
Pretty solid.
Okay,
game.
so why? Hold on. Like Clank, there is the like deck building element, but then I see a board. Is there like resource management, or is there like area control? What are you doing in there?
Well, there's majority control, but the way it works, the main portion of the game is going to be the deck building portion, with using your cards to put your meeple out at different locations on the board. The card itself is going to have symbols, which is going to allocate where you can put them on the board. And that's one of the primary things you're going to look at when you purchase new cards each round is what they do, what they can do at the end of the round, and where they let you go.
Oh.
So it's sort of like the idea where they did the market row, but then they put it into a euro. So you're using that for your areas that you can place them. You have a majority control thing at the end when at the end of every round, you will fight on Dune for whatever goal is out. And whoever has the most power, which is generally going to have the most units out, there's cards that there's intrigue cards that you can pump it up for. And your cards that you didn't spend in your round have reveal bonuses at the end that let you either purchase new cards or help pump up power or do other things. There's a lot of player interaction in the game too for that style of game, where in Clank arguably there's very little to none. This actually has it. I do like Clank, but I like it. Go ahead.
And with Dune Imperium, so a lot of games that take a lot of these different ideas and integrate it all into one game, usually most of it is like it does this really well, it does this okay, and you have that varying levels of everything.
Yeah.
This one's really across the board. It integrates all of it very well.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh my god, I'm stoked to play this. I gotta send this to the missus and the guys. I mean, we just kind of we had gotten into Dune recently, and and if it's that good of a game, oh my gosh, it sounds super
is
fun.
my favorite Dune game ever, and I
How
do
many
like
Dune games has there been?
Oh, there's at least 4 or 5 now. There's the original Dune game that was a highly asymmetric combat game that's been around since the 90s at least, and they reprinted it. Gale Force 9 did. And it is I like the game, but I'm 100% behind the game is a acquired taste game. So it's not for everyone.
Acquired taste.
It's
like a nice old ale.
Like a nice old ale.
Like
the player powers are so asymmetric, and so every single one is so broken that you feel like in the game it's completely unfair, but everyone else thinks what you have is completely unfair.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, I can kind of get the sense for that. Yeah.
So it's rough for some people being like, oh man, I can't believe I give you all my gold every time. Why?
Yeah,
all my spice.
okay.
Like, well, how does that make sense? Well, like, you have this super awesome power. Like, it's a cool game. I am glad they reprinted it and they did a couple expansions for it, but Dune Imperium is definitely one that I can bring out and explain to people and have a fun time really quick. So
okay, sweet.
Yeah, and they have Portal Games came out with a new Dune, and then Gale Force 9's coming out with another Dune. There's just so much darn Dune.
Yeah, they're pushing Dune for sure.
But Dune Imperium is the best so far Dune.
Oh, good to know.
And it is in your wheelhouse because you like that deck building Dominion. Yeah, I think you'll love it. I think you'll.
Oh man, I'm stoked to get that on the table. The other game you were talking about where the powers were too crazy and everyone thought each other was overpowered makes me think of like Cosmic Encounters. You guys remember that
game?
Boo.
I love Cosmic. I love it. It's a great game.
I don't know what it is about that game. I mean, they're not like Dune. The powers are super broken, but they're all broken at the same ish amount. Cosmic Encounter, you can have like, well, all 3 of us need to attack that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think of this, James? Do you think that he would enjoy Moonrakers? I mean, I really enjoyed that as a deck building game too. And
yeah, I think he would really enjoy Moonrakers.
What's your review of that? I see that game everywhere. And is it 4 studios? They know what they're doing, like marketing wise.
It's Ivy Games.
Ivy Games. Okay, they know what they're doing in terms of marketing, and I see their ads all over, and they have such a clean look. It like looks cool. When I actually look at the cards themselves, I'm not sure what to think about the game. But yeah, you guys recommend it? You think I should check it out?
The art is definitely something that I like, but I know a lot of people don't like. And the art itself has a unique feature to it. In the game itself, you have different, like you have ship parts, and you have different 4 different types that you can have, and the color matches the type. So the background color of the art matches the type that you're getting. So by a glance, you can tell what it's supposed to do. So I like that. It is a negotiation style deck building game.
Negotiation.
Yeah, Ivy Games, I will say, does a very good job of taking concepts that I hate and making me change my mind.
You don't like negotiation games?
Well, the problem with most negotiation games, there's a handful of negotiation games I love, but in general, negotiation style games break down for me. And it still had a little bit of problem towards the end of the game with the negotiation breaking down, obviously because someone's going to win. But I think they did the best job of making it where you want to negotiate with people. You have these simple objectives that you have to get in the game to push you forward to get more points, and they look super simple, but they're pretty hard to actually get by yourself. They might only have 3 or 4 symbols that you need to do, but to combo that in your own hand and trust that you're going to be able to do that is a stretch. So you're forced to be like, hey, I want to move myself forward. I want to try to build up my stuff.
Interesting.
I need to give you guys something to help me. And I like it a lot. The other type of game that I just detest is social deduction games. I am an unabashed hater of social deduction games. I hate them. The only thing I don't like more is, or only thing I dislike more is Dixit. But, but social deduction games I don't like. They just never go for me. But they did Veiled Fate.
Oh yeah, that game looks beautiful.
It is a beautiful game, and they did a wonderful job. And it's not really, it is social deduction, but it's more like strategic deduction. Like I'm not asking, I'm not looking at you for your like winking and stuff. I'm just trying to strategically deduce which demigod is yours. And the craftier you are with that throughout the game, the more engaging it is. I don't know. They just take, and I don't know if they even do it on purpose, but they really take something and just make it the best of that, I think.
That's cool. That's commendable. And yeah, just the look of their games and their branding makes me just want to buy them.
Yeah. And you did the sort of the same thing too, to just go full circle on it. You took a concept that doesn't really work normally, which is random decks to play a competitive 1v1 game or 2v2 or whatever, and made that actually balanced. So you figured that out, and you took something that didn't work and made it work. So you're the same lines as them. So really
all right. I'll take that. That's a huge compliment.
But yeah, I think you'll love Dune Imperium, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Oh man, sounds good.
But that is actually a good point. There's a lot of these direct combat card games work really well with 2 players, not very well with 3 or 4. Yours works well with 3 or 4. Another one that I think you would really like that also works really well with 3 or 4 is Shards of Infinity, which is kind of like a Star Realms style game.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
One of the cool things about it is like you can attack, but there's also like mastery you can build up, and if you get enough mastery, it's an instant win. So you can win by either wiping out everybody else or just like this instant win of mastery. So people are kind of watching how much power you are building up for attacking, but also watching your mastery. So there's a lot of tension there.
Oh, dude, yeah. Okay, cool. I've seen this game recently, and like, such a cool name. Looks sweet. It's a deck building game. How come I've never played it? I'll have to check it out.
So one of the other things I was trying to throw out there too is loved Wizards of Relics. I love Wizards of Relics Awakening, and I really like the price point that you guys have for the game. $29 is a steal for the game. So I really think that especially when you're looking at the average game price of being $60 or more, and Kickstarter games hitting $100 or more generally every single time. So you retail $60, Kickstarter $100, $30 for a game is nothing. So, and I'll say, I mean, I was super blown away with the quality of the base game when it was released, and I know you guys are going to do the same for this game. So I really think it's worth people going out and checking that out. And again, the link will be in the show notes. Definitely just go check that out. You have a really cool video, and I really love all the like all the time that you put in to do the really cool graphics on the Kickstarter page, and that's really cool. But yeah, go check out the video. We did a review video. Check that out.
Yes.
And definitely take a little bit of time to take a look at it. Did you want to just give a shout out to where people can find you on the internet?
Oh man, yeah, sure. You know, right now, you want to go to the Kickstarter, man. Check out our Kickstarter. I guess there'll be the link in the description, but you can also search Wizards and Relics Awakening on Kickstarter, and you can find that. But you know, I'd love to have you. I use Instagram quite a bit at the Eternal Realms. I'd love to DM me on there. If you have any questions, you can ask me on there. I think that'd be a great place to start. But yeah, thanks so much, you guys. And your review, your preview of the game, your review was so good, James. You guys did good work. Like, it just, you know, my guys, my team watch your videos like, yeah, they get it. They get it. Like, they're gamers. And you can describe it and do a good review and overview so well, like so much better than we could. So like I appreciate you guys so much, and yeah, thanks for having me on. This was an absolute pleasure. And now I got some new games I got to go get.
Yeah, we're definitely honored to have you on. It was always a lot of fun. So yeah, so that was our interview for Eternal Realms. And definitely go check out Wizards and Relics Awakening, and definitely go, and I recommend picking up their base game on their website. Well, like I said, links in the below, and you all have a good night.